Hi, I'm back. It's been a long time since I was making content on this channel about my entrepreneurship journey, pretty much because I gave up on my entrepreneurship journey. I started my channel in November 2018, and I thought it would be good to document the process of becoming successful so that it could serve as a resource, because the way people recall things after the fact, I just find to be lacking. Like they can't fully access what it was like to struggle or what it was like to be behind certain walls. So I wanted to document in real time so that I could speak to those things. And man, I never got from behind the wall. So I'm excited to be back in the on the journey, and get back to that purpose. And I want to begin to make content, or resume making content for that purpose. One of my last videos was me saying that I've given up, and I had given up for real. I have tried so many things over the last 5 years. I quit my job July 2018 to pursue entrepreneurship. At the time, I had a blog and I really thought I could make it with that, but I just couldn't figure it out. There was just this feeling, this block, or this feeling of like being misaligned with that. And instead, I've been a stay-at-home mom for the last 5 years. So last year, I was trying yet another thing, and I was coming up against difficulty, and it just didn't make sense to me. And I said, I give up. If I'm going to do something, it needs to be really obvious, because I can't keep going through this process of trying and being blocked. And I started to consider maybe I'm meant to just be mediocre and have a mediocre life. And it's not necessarily mediocre in the scheme of all lives that could be lived, but in terms of what I thought I was supposed to do in this lifetime. In January, I really began to address this idea that being a homemaker was not a valuable job. It wasn't a job, or there was no value there, and enabling myself to take pride in the work that I've done as a homemaker. And so for this year, that's sort of been the idea that I've been nurturing. Like, maybe I'm not even meant to work. My needs keep being met. So maybe my ancestors just want me to rest like they didn't get to do. And that's where I've been. Then in July, my husband heard about this private school on a podcast, a school called Acton Academy. And it would achieve our homeschool ideals. My husband wanted to homeschool. I was willing to do it, didn't really feel cut out for it, but I was willing to do it. And so when I heard about the school, I was interested, but then when I heard it was 30 minutes away, I was like, no. And also when I heard the price, I was like, no. But I was open to it. We went out and visited, and I felt really good there. I felt like this was the right place for my son, who is kindergarten age this year. And then the first day of school, we had to do like this commitment to each other and sign this pledge. And one of the lines said something to the effect of, I promise to help you change the world. And I couldn't get the words out. I wasn't feeling emotional about my son going to school at all, but reading that felt so aligned, like so just perfect. Like, this is exactly what I want for him, and this is the exact right place, and this moment is overwhelming. So I really knew that that was the place for him. Not to mention the amount of mental clarity I gained from him going to school and not being home anymore. I definitely knew that that was positive for us. But then we are left with the issue of how to pay for it. We were blessed enough to have family members contribute for this year. And I know that we can probably count on some of that money to continue, but we can't depend on other people to support our kid through school for his whole career, nor will they be able to support subsequent kids if we want to send them to the school as well. So I started thinking about how I could make money to contribute. And then I came back around to the idea of being a coach. In 2020, I had this profound moment where I realized I'm meant to be a coach. That is my purpose. but I always felt like it was far off. I didn't know how to really just start working as a coach. Even though people definitely call on me as a coach, I've had more than one person from a Facebook group reach out to me for counseling and coaching over an issue that I may have commented on. And we spent time, I devoted time to them to help them through their issue, even talking on the phone. And that's not something I asked for. That's just who I am. And people can see that. So I know that I'm a coach, but I haven't known how to begin working as a coach. So I started thinking about, okay, well, how can I do this? I want to be a coach, but I don't know how to like show up as that, just one day, like, hey, I'm a coach. So thus began this journey over the last few months of me sort of getting myself in position to really embark on that journey. I don't want to get into everything because the video is going to be too long, but basically it started with me attending this psychic live, and I don't really do those anymore, but it was Labor Day and there was like nothing going on. So, and I asked a little question and she answered and she chatted with me about it after the fact, and I wanted to give back to her. So I booked a mini reading with her as a way to give back. It was like $30. And I was asking about like not being meant to work. And she said that she doesn't feel that I'm not meant to work. She feels that I'm manifesting not having to work because there's part of me that's afraid of it. And then there's another part of me that's ambitious, and I need to bring those two together. So that began this process of me like really exploring the trauma I have around work and doing EMDR therapy, simply talking about things and doing like thought maps on poster boards, and put me in a position to recognize that I'm the one blocking these opportunities. This whole time I've been waiting for something to just like pop out and be the opportunity, the idea, a video to go viral or something. I've been waiting for something like that to set me off on the path. But I'm realizing that I have sort of like tuned into a channel or I'm like on a website that blocks pop-ups in a sense. So in order for nothing is going to come through as long as that pop-up blocker is on. So I have recognized the habits and behaviors I have, the thought patterns that have been making it hard for me to perceive opportunities. And in that energy, when I heard about this program called Quantum Coach Academy on a podcast, I was actually able to receive this information and like be aware that it's perfect for me. So I heard about it on Manifestation Babe, and I was like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is for me, blah, blah, blah. Normally I'd be like, okay, yeah, that sounds good, but I don't really need that, even though I do need something. And once I saw the price, I'd be like, well, this is definitely not for me because I shouldn't have to come out of pocket, blah, blah, blah. But this time I didn't do that. And I really have received confirmation after confirmation that this is right for me, even to the point of going to church. And I mentioned that I've deconstructed or deconverted from Christianity over the last few years, but I still like to go to church in some instances. So I went to this church and the minister was speaking to me, and she was like, I see you life coaching. And yeah, so I just feel like I've had a lot of confirmation and this is for me. And I guess the conclusion I'm making right now, that the conclusion I've made about life is that it was all up to me. Like, we have more control than we realize, but the subconscious is controlling us also more than we realize. So while I thought that I was waiting for someone else to intervene, it was not that. It was that I had a choice to make, and I needed to shift my energy around my opportunities in order to actually take one. So in this case, I think that the QCA is really going to help me. But I also recognize that it's not really about that, but it's about me making this huge energetic deposit into this identity that I want to embody, that I am, but I want to give more energy to. And I think that there are definitely people who can become coaches without something like this. But for me, with the amount of work that I've had to do, I think for me, it had to be something big to help me to really shift over into that other identity and show up in the world as a coach. So I do have high hopes for this program. I know that it's going to really help me. I'm going to learn to be a coach, learn several different modalities, including hypnosis and Reiki, and learn how to set up my business. But I'm also simply going through a transitional process to becoming that other person. For me, I don't think it could really happen overnight. There's a lot that has to change, and QCA is the container for that. So that's what I know. I'm back on the journey. I'm going to be documenting it more and sharing a lot of the stuff I've learned. So the takeaway from this update is that I am back on my entrepreneurship journey. I am working on presenting myself as a coach and learning more tools to feel empowered to do that. And there's a lot more that went into that process than just coincidence or like waiting for something to happen. It wasn't as much an opportunity as it was a shift in my energy and my mindset that enabled me to see a path forward. So I'm going to make much more content about this and about everything, because I really want to give this back to the world and hopefully help somebody like me on the journey to make these steps and find the life that they're meant to live.